Okay, we're going to go ahead and work on finishing the assignment. So first thing I'm going to do is a little bit of the CSS to make it look better. And then I'll show you how to set up the interval function so it'll automatically draw a quote every so often. Okay, so we're in the JS and I haven't quite finished all this, but I've got a display labels. This is going to be for the label elements within the display of the quotes. I've added provider and tags text. I've set different fonts on these and different font style. So the quote text will be in italic. The author text won't. Right now the provider's in italic. That doesn't really make sense. I'll just go ahead and remove that. And then I have tags text too. Okay, so let me save that. And then I added a little bit in the interface here. So here are my labels. You can see I didn't put a span around these to apply the tag, the display selector that I just showed you. But one thing to note here is how this works. So it shows the tag and the opening square bracket. There's the closing square bracket. So now I have these labels added in here. So let's take a quick look at this. And here you can see there's the label, quote, Doe, Arthur Homer, provided by Tom Wolfe, and then the tags. And that's working pretty straightforwardly. Okay, so I can certainly do more with this, and I might come back and do that with you, but I figure you're probably able to handle that yourself. Generally, I'm not a great visual designer myself there. Okay. So what we want to do now is go back to the script and set it to automate the quotes. And we want to do a quote like every 2 seconds. And so I looked and it doesn't seem to be a jQuery method for that. So we'll just use straight JavaScript for this. So one thing that will happen now is I'm going to leave the button in. But what the button will do is it will stop the quote. Okay. So the way that we do this in JavaScript is we set a timer and we pass the function that we want to run and how often we want to run it. So we're going to use our getNewQuote function for this. So I'm going to put the timer down here. Now you can do this without a variable, but if you want to be able to turn it off, you need a variable reference. So variable var my quote feed equals, and then this is set interval and then basically you give it the function, which is get new quote, and then the delay, which is in milliseconds. So if I put 3000 here, that's 3 seconds. I might change that to 2. Alright, now again, the button there is going to have the get new quote too. Right now I'll leave that in. Again, we're going to do incremental development. I'll just change one thing at a time and work through it. So let's go ahead and see if this works now in Firefox. And there you go. You can see that it's changing. So every 3 seconds it's changing the quote. So now I want to change the get quote button to basically stop the quote feed. So let's go ahead and close this and go back into, first we'll go into our index.html and we'll change the text here. So we'll put a stop button here, just say stop. You know, I'm not going to go ahead and change the names and all this stuff here, but obviously now the documentation is a little off. And so if this is going to be a polished app and we're going to use it for a long time, it might be worth going ahead and doing all that. Okay, so now here, this button click, we're going to get rid of this get new quote, and then that becomes a function, and then we need to put in our curly braces for our function. And then let's just move this down here and make some room. And I kind of like to keep things neat here. I'm kind of anal about that. But you know, after doing years of coding, that's because it makes it easier to see what's going on. Okay, so you see this my quote feed here. And so I had to go look in the reference, but it's basically window dot clear interval, and then my quote feed is the interval variable. So there we go. So now my quote button should say stop, and when I click it, it'll stop the display of the quotes. So again, let's go ahead and try that out in Firefox. Alright, looks like the quotes are working. Let's see if the stop button works. Looks good, it's definitely working. Okay, so that's pretty much everything you needed to know for this week's lab, and we learned a lot more. Real quickly, I'll just mention that in addition to the setInterval, there's another JavaScript timing function. Oh God, I forget what it is, but it basically is a one-time one. So it counts down and then it runs a function one time. setInterval repeats and runs the function based on the time that you specify. And I think that might be set delay. Let me just look that up real quick for you here, since I made the mistake of mentioning it. And I'll pop over to W3 Schools for that real quickly. Yeah, here we go. So clear and set interval and clear interval, and that set timeout is the one that's a one-time one. And then you can clear the timeout too. So for instance, if I wanted to implement a timed quiz, I could have the set the timeout to close the quiz after a certain amount of time. And then if the user finished, I'd just clear the timeout before that time happened. So that's set timeout and clear timeout for one-time events, and then set interval and clear interval for repeating events. Now, I know that jQuery does have some delay and animate functions too. I don't know much about those yet. Okay, I think that's good for today. Let's go ahead and close this baby up and get it posted for you. I think now you're good to go with